This is Jason with Edwards Financial Services. Welcome to Watch Your Six, and we're really delighted to have a special guest in the studio this morning. We've got Dr. Rocco, a unique chiropractor with a specialized niche market that he works in. As we talked about in our recent podcast, we're trying to inculcate different aspects of things that we feel are critical, and health is just as critical as every other aspect when it comes to building your wealth. But Dr. Rocco, we're going to have him share a little bit about what he does, what makes him unique, and then we're going to have him share with you, the audiences, a little bit about some of the challenges he's run into as opening a firm and being an entrepreneur. Because for those entrepreneurs that dial into our show, we want you to feel like you're getting information and you're learning from our podcast. So welcome, Dr. Rocco. It's great to see you. Thank you for being on the show.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
Our pleasure too. So tell everybody a little bit about your practice and a little bit about what makes you unique. And obviously you deal with a lot of VIP and exclusive clients, but elaborate a little bit about your particular field.
Yeah. So when I started, if we go way back to how chiropractic started, is chiropractors would adjust people and they wouldn't advertise, and sick people would get well. It was that simple, right? They cleared the brain and spinal cord from interference and sick people got well. Then somewhere along the way, my profession, I believe, kind of lost its way and started to, have to coerce people into coming into their practice in hopes that they would get better. And I never wanted that from the beginning. I remember being in school, looking at my ex-wife and being like, that's not going to be me. We're not running ads. Like, we're going to get sick people well, and they're going to tell other sick people. So then I found myself in a unique situation that it was like, well, you better be really good at what you do if you're not going to advertise. I just got a website that went live, thedrrocco.com, 3 weeks ago. I got an Instagram 2 months ago, been in practice a decade. So for me, it was like, okay, how am I going to do that? So what I really started to focus on was how brain and spinal cord really aren't a separate organ. They're the same organ. And the more I studied them, I found that they kind of work in three different ways. That brain and spine works like a rubber band, and it can stretch and relax. That rubber band works like a guitar string, which you can play a guitar string all the way up and down the right way. And then that spinal cord works like a garden hose, and it has a bunch of little straws that come off it, and you can pinch and kink the straws, and you can choke the entire spinal cord itself. What we find is that the body has 11 systems. We know that. And the number one system in your body that controls all 10 is the central nervous system, your brain, spinal cord. It does everything. And when that system has tension, we diminish its output to every other system. It's that simple. And then we try and add being an entrepreneur, and we try and add pushing the boundaries in life and all these things. So one of the favorite things to skip everything and go straight to the mother lode of what controls all of this is we have found that there's a wave in our brain called the P300 wave. That wave is your state of human performance. When that tension resides in the cord and it pulls and torques the cord, you decrease your state of human potential. You don't seem like a man who wants his state of human potential decreased in any way.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't think anybody who listens to your podcast wants their state of human potential decreased in any way.
Right.
So the basis of taking the tension off the spine and bringing that back to normal, let's say, is a factor, right? And that happens. So what really got me excited about this is what we have found now is that there's no theoretical limit to that P300 wave. So what we're showing now is that neurologically, we are quite literally limitless. So the more I work with the spine, the more I unlock this, the more we increase your innate human potential, and then it's game over. That means you can handle more stress. You can do 10 more phone calls this week. You can do 10 more planning sessions. One of my patients can do 4 more shows this year. Whatever these things are, right? You can handle more of them without hitting your threshold of burnout.
So that particular component you've identified could actually be a traditional catalyst, or it could be a hurdle for our audiences that are trying to build wealth or build a successful business or are trying to achieve whatever their financial goals are. Because without that component, it could actually hinder their ability. And as you alluded to, it could actually make their minds, a little bit less clear. It could add to other complications, which would impact and basically reduce their capabilities. Is that accurate?
That's exactly what that wave does. It controls all neuroplasticity, which neuroplasticity is how we reorganize our brain. So if you want to become better at something, if you want to learn piano or guitar, if you want to learn how to sell a business, that's how that works. Kind of an important piece. It controls mental focus. It controls mental clarity. All of those things come back to how well that wave functions. It actually bleeds into addiction and compulsive disorders, which if we really want to peel back the curtain, a ton of high performers have addiction and compulsive disorder issues.
Yeah.
And it plays a role in ADD, ADHD, all of these things.
Right.
Yeah, it's that little missing link. And this is why people fly me all over the world and why people fly from all over the world to come see me. I just had a man fly from Washington State a month ago.
Right. And you mentioned before you've had clients actually fly from South America and other parts of the world just to come see you.
Yeah, I've had people fly from South America on Thanksgiving Day to come see me.
Right. So that highlights for our audiences how health really does integrate to wealth and how it can actually impact your ability to perform and impact your ability to deal with some of the challenges that come along with trying to build wealth or build a business.
I see it all the time. I see patients come into me and it's, they're fit, they're healthy, they're all these things, and they think they're maxed out in their ability, and then we start to take care of them like, oh my God, there's another gear. A really good analogy I tell everybody is most entrepreneurs, most businessmen or women they're in first or second gear and their RPMs are redlining.
Right.
And they don't know how to shift into the next gear. Shift you into the next gear.
Right.
Now you have all that room to move. I know firsthand, literally dealing with, and I'm not ashamed to say this, dealing with some health things right now because I push and push and push. And I can't get my own care, and there are other things that we need to take care of. The second your health starts to slip, your business suffers.
That's right.
Period.
Yep. Your attention to detail, your ability to drive, your ability to motivate. You can have the best widget. I always say you can have the best widget in the world, but if the infrastructure and the other components aren't there, it doesn't matter. No one's going to buy it.
Doesn't matter at all.
No,
and a passionate part for me being a single father is it diminishes the relationship with your children.
Yeah, 100%. And then again, it comes back to our conversation. We always talk about priority and goals. When you're talking about wealth management, you have to have an end game. Unfortunately, sometimes we have people come in and they're just about accumulation and they've got millions on millions on millions on millions. But you ask them what is their goal, and they really can't even articulate it. They can't tell you what the goal is. They could just say, well, I'm going to try to make more money. And that really isn't a goal. That's an objective. So it's interesting what you highlighted. Let me ask you a question. So being a very successful doctor and an entrepreneur as yourself, and you've been in business over a decade, what were some of the challenges that you found? Because that's part of our show is trying to teach people watch your six. What are some of the things that people have done in the past and have learned and now realize, well, if I could do that differently, I would have. When it came to your practice, is there anything specifically you can remember jumps out at you that says, man, I really wish I would have done this differently? Because you've got the skill, and it's a unique skill, which makes you in high demand. But the business part's a different component.
I would have started with a team sooner. I wanted to do it all myself. I didn't want there to be any interference. I wanted to control everything. And I hit that maxed out stage really, really fast. And I see where I could have gotten sooner with the right team behind me. But when you kind of have your baby and your thing, you hold it tight. And, when you start, and I have no problem saying this either, when you start with nothing at all, no money to start something, and you're starting in this tiny little space, as you grow, you don't necessarily know what to do next.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like you aren't really sure who do I hire? And I've hired people before, and in hiring those people, I was always like, this was a waste of my time or money. And so that I think was the biggest hurdle. And I think one of the biggest needs is for entrepreneurs to realize we do need help and how to find the right help that can keep up, because we run at a different speed. We run at a different pace. And when we bring a team member in that doesn't run at that same speed or that same pace, that can cause a lot of friction.
100%. So you highlighted probably the number one thing I see with many of our entrepreneurs when they come into our firm is they don't really have a strategy. So they've got a concept, they've got a resource, they've got something that's unique, but the business part, the infrastructure isn't there. And then the way to deploy that infrastructure is critical. And you also touched on something that's really interesting too. If you have a bunch of people that are employed, but they don't fit with your energy, your style of business, what you'll end up doing is micromanaging. you'll end up running behind them and go, well, do this, do this, do this. And then they get burned out. They quit. They get frustrated. You get frustrated and nothing happens. So
100%.
that is exactly what I see almost on a daily basis. I think sometimes when we're really excited about opportunity, a lot of these business models, they fail because the infrastructure just wasn't there. And then what ends up happening, you may have experienced it, you're almost doing it as you're practicing.
It's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so you add this and add that, and now you're doing it by the seat of your pants.
Yep. And, I think, again, I can only speak to me. That's all I can speak to.
Right.
And I joke with my best friend all the time about my toxic trait is that I think that if I had enough time, I could do everything as good as everybody else can do it. If I just focused all of my energy in learning that thing, Right. Understanding that I didn't choose to spend a decade studying how to build a business.
Right.
I chose to spend a decade on being able to optimize your nervous system in a way that I don't believe anybody else can.
That's right.
So then it's not fair on myself to put that pressure
100%
of I should also know how to do this. And I got caught up in that for a long, long time. And then the mind starts to slip and you feel like a failure and you're not doing it this way and that way. And it's like, whoa, and it pulls you down.
Yep, 100%. Well, and there are the graveyard, they say, is full of a lot of great ideas. And that's the unfortunate component. So you just keyed on it. For example, my firm, I didn't spend 2 decades doing how to adjust my neck or how to fix my nervous system. I have no clue. So it's foolish for me to go on Amazon and buy this little gadget and say, did that do it? But unfortunately, it's the same thing with investing. And when it comes to business management, people think if they Google something, they'll learn it. Or if they get an algorithm, it'll help them. And unfortunately, there really is no shortcut to being successful. So there's sort of a merging there, what you just alluded to. The merging is I've got a concept, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've got this great resource, but now I need the other parts to help amplify it, just to amplify it, so that way you can focus on what you do, which is your practice. And if you have the business infrastructure, then all you're doing is multiplying it. We call it force multiplication. You're basically just building and building and building. But I think what you keyed on, Doc, was critical, is you have to be humble enough to acknowledge that. And sometimes entrepreneurs come in, they don't think that way. They think, I know it all, I can build this.
10 years ago, I'd have probably been on this podcast and told you that directly to your face. And I'm humble enough to know that now. I've done enough self-work. I've done enough seminars. I've done enough courses and inner stuff to look and be like, hey, you don't. It's okay.
That's right.
And allowed to have that help. And then, what's extraordinary is once you check that ego, which I believe the best in the world have, and we could have a whole podcast about this. I don't think the ego is a bad thing like everybody says. The ego built everything you see in the known world.
That's right.
But allowing that ego to have help, and oh my gosh, where you can go.
Right. Moderation. I mean, everything. They always say moderation's good with everything. So ego, we say that on our podcast, being driven to be successful or wealthy isn't a bad thing. But again, if it's in conjunction with some type of mission that's honorable and good, that makes a big difference. If I just want to be wealthy so I'm dominating the world, well, that necessarily wouldn't be healthy. And the problem with that is then some of the negative influencers like greed, that's what a lot of people in my industry use to get you as the audience to do things that, can make money off of you, but don't necessarily help you. So you're right. Absolutely. Let me ask you one last question, because I know you've been swamped and we're so grateful for you taking time. Where do you see your practice, and particularly the niche market that you're doing, where do you see that really building? Do you see it building in the business world? Do you see it building in the entertainment world, or all the above?
Right now, I'm in all the above. Right now, the business world and the entertainment world. My niche market is definitely high-performing executives and high-performing performers.
Awesome.
It's like whether that's a singer or an athlete, because they look for that edge. They're very acutely aware of, oh my goodness, I'm functioning at 2% better.
Right. They're dialed in.
Where, let's call them the layperson, comes into me, because I still take care of,
everyone,
quote unquote, regular people.
Right.
It's almost easier to take care of them, because
Right.
it's like, oh, it just feels so zen and good, and it's like, yeah, that's beautiful. But what I think we're finding now, again, this is just my observation, is just like you said, I think that the quote unquote wealthy or high performers, or the people that are doing that, are starting to have this shift where like, wait a second, what is the point of all this without my health? And then they're starting to realize that this is an valuable asset that I can have and have access to that other people don't necessarily have access to. And I see shifts in that changing all the time. I take care of some people in the very, very, very high end fashion industry.
Right.
And fashion tends to dictate the course of a lot of things in culture. And even the parties that they're throwing and the places that they're going, the clientele are asking for more holistic, organic things and not necessarily cocaine and alcohol anymore.
Right.
At these parties, and so the trend is starting to happen where I think people are literally taking back their health in a way they never did before, because they're realizing if they don't do it, the healthcare system's not going to be there for them when it comes crashing down.
Right. Well, and also to go on your point a little bit, actually everyone, listening to the podcast is listening because they want to be successful at some level. So everyone could benefit from your treatments, because 100%. If you got high net worth or the super elite, so to speak, successful ones utilizing it, it teaches that everyone utilizing it can also be successful at whatever level they want. So I think you bring a really good point, and we'll make sure in our podcast and our links, we're going to have links to your practice, so those watching can sort of contact you and your team. And we're delighted that you were here. We are so grateful. Dr. Rocco is incredibly busy, but he took a time out this morning to hop on our podcast. Again, Dr. Rocco, I personally thank you. Full fair disclosure, I work with Dr. Rocco, and it's been an incredible drive. My body is feeling better every day, because being in a high net worth environment and dealing with multiple thousands of clients and millions of dollars, as you can mention, audience, we can also have stress. We're not bulletproof. So thank you, Dr. Rocco, for all you do, and thank you for what you've done for me and members of our team. And we look forward to having you back on our show.
Yes, it's an absolute honor, and anytime I'll make time for you. This was great.
Thank you very much. So, guys, thanks for tuning in to Watch Your Six. I'm Jason with Edwards Financial Services, and we look forward to seeing your next show. And have a great day and be safe.